The church doors slammed open so hard that every head turned. The music stopped. The pastor lowered the wedding vows. Even the photographers froze. A little girl, no older than 12, stood in the doorway, breathing hard as if she'd run for miles. Her blue dress was wrinkled, one shoe was untied, and tears streamed down her face. Then she looked straight at me. "Please," she cried, "don't marry her." The church became so quiet I could hear someone drop a fork during the reception setup outside. The little girl pointed directly at Rebecca, the woman standing beside me in her wedding dress. "She already destroyed our family once," the girl said, her voice breaking. "Please don't let her destroy yours too." Rebecca's face turned white. "What is this?" she whispered. I don't know." But something inside me told me that wasn't true. I had never seen the little girl before. At least that's what I wanted to believe. She looked at me with eyes filled with fear and hope, not the look a stranger gives. The look someone gives when they've been waiting a very long time to tell the truth. "My name is Daniel Brooks. Until that morning, I thought my life finally made sense. I was 41 years old. I owned one of the largest construction companies in Atlanta. Business magazines loved calling me the man who built an empire from nothing. What they never wrote about was the foster homes, the nights I slept in my truck after aging out of the system, the years I worked 2 jobs while studying construction management, or the marriage that quietly fell apart. 12 years earlier, Maya and I had been inseparable. She wasn't impressed by money because I didn't have any. She loved me when all I owned was a rusty pickup truck and a dream. When I finally started making real money, I promised her life would become easier. Instead, it became more complicated. Long hours turned into missed anniversaries. Business trips became excuses to avoid difficult conversations. Stress became silence. One night, Maya packed 2 suitcases. "I don't recognize the man I married anymore," she said. "I built all of this for us," I argued. "No," she replied quietly. "You built it because you were afraid of being poor again." Those words hurt because they were true. 3 months later, our divorce was finalized. We had no children. Or at least, that's what I believed. I buried myself in work. Years passed. Then Rebecca entered my life. She was confident, beautiful, successful, and somehow always knew exactly what to say. My board loved her. My friends admired her. The media called us Atlanta's next power couple. For the first time since my divorce, I believed happiness might still be possible. That's why I was standing in that church, waiting to say, "I do," until one frightened little girl changed everything. She hadn't taken her eyes off Rebecca. Rebecca finally forced a smile and stepped forward. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." The girl's voice trembled. "No, I know exactly who you are." And judging by the fear that flashed across Rebecca's face, so did she. The girl who knew too much for a few seconds. Nobody moved. The church was packed with more than 200 guests, but it felt as if every person had forgotten how to breathe. Rebecca recovered first. She forced another smile, though this one didn't reach her eyes. "I'm so sorry, everyone," she said, turning toward the guests. "This poor child is obviously confused." She reached out as if to comfort the girl, but the little girl stepped back. "Don't touch me." Rebecca's hand froze in midair. A murmur spread through the church. I looked from Rebecca to the little girl, trying to understand what was happening. "What is your name?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "Ava. Where are your parents, Ava?" She looked down for a moment before answering. "My mum is outside." "Then why did you come in here alone?" She lifted her head again, her eyes locking onto mine. "Because Mummy was too scared." Those words landed harder than I expected. Too scared. Scared of what? Or, scared of who? Rebecca slipped her hand into mine. "Daniel," she whispered, "please don't encourage this. Someone should call security." Before I could answer, the church doors opened again. A woman hurried inside. She looked exhausted, her dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, and she was breathing so hard she could barely speak. "Ava!" The little girl turned instantly. "Mum!" The woman wrapped her daughter in a tight embrace. "I'm so sorry," she said, tears filling her eyes. I looked away for 1 minute, then she looked up. Our eyes met. Everything inside me stopped. Maya! Her face lost every bit of color. She whispered my name so quietly I almost didn't hear it. Daniel! The church erupted with whispers. Isn't that his ex-wife? What is she doing here? Who's the little girl? Rebecca's grip on my hand tightened. You know her? I couldn't answer. I was staring at Maya. It had been 12 years. She looked older. Life had clearly been hard on her, but I'd know those eyes anywhere. What are you doing here? I finally asked. Maya looked at Ava before answering. I didn't bring her here, I swear. I told her we couldn't come. Ava looked up at her mother. I'm sorry, Mummy. I heard on TV that today was the wedding. I couldn't let him marry her. Rebecca's expression changed for just a fraction of a second. It was gone so quickly that most people wouldn't have noticed. But I did. Fear. Real fear. She knelt in front of Ava. Sweetheart, Rebecca said softly, you don't understand what you're saying. Ava's voice became stronger. I understand enough. You came to our house. Rebecca's smile disappeared. You told Mummy that nobody would ever believe her. A heavy silence settled over the room. I slowly turned toward Rebecca. What is she talking about? Rebecca laughed. A short, nervous laugh. Daniel, she's a child. Children imagine things. But Ava interrupted her. I don't imagine. You broke Mummy's picture frame. You said if she ever talked to you again. Ava stopped speaking. Her small body started shaking. Maya immediately pulled her into another hug. It's okay. You don't have to say any more. Rebecca looked furious now. This is ridiculous. She faced me. Daniel, are you seriously listening to a 12-year-old? Before I could answer, one of my oldest friends, Marcus, walked quietly to my side. He had been my attorney for nearly 15 years. He leaned close enough that only I could hear him. Daniel, something isn't right. I've never seen Rebecca look scared before. Neither had I. Marcus lowered his voice even further. If this were just a misunderstanding, she wouldn't be panicking. I looked back at Maya. She refused to meet my eyes. Instead, she whispered to Ava, we're leaving. Ava shook her head. No, not until he knows. Knows what? The question escaped my mouth before I realized I'd spoken. Ava looked directly at me. Then she said the one sentence that shattered everything I believed about my life. I've spent my whole life wondering why my dad never wanted me. The room went completely silent. Even Rebecca stopped breathing. My heart pounded so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I stared at Maya. Slowly, very slowly. Tears rolled down her face. She closed her eyes, and with a broken voice she whispered, I never wanted you to find out like this. The truth I never saw coming. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. The words echoed in my head. I've spent my whole life wondering why my dad never wanted me. I looked at Ava, then at Maya, then back at the woman I was supposed to marry in less than 10 minutes. Nothing made sense anymore. Finally, I found my voice. Maya. My throat tightened. What is she talking about? Maya wiped away her tears, but more replaced them. I never wanted this to happen in front of everyone. I asked God 100 times to let this day pass without seeing you. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Rebecca stepped forward. Daniel, enough. This woman is manipulating you. Maya turned toward her for the first time. No, I stayed silent for 12 years. You've done enough. Rebecca's face hardened. I don't know what game you're playing. This isn't a game, Maya interrupted. It's my daughter's life. The guests watched in complete silence. Some had already taken out their phones. Marcus noticed immediately. He turned toward the wedding coordinator. Please ask everyone to put their phones away. This is a private family matter. Most people lowered them. A few didn't. I barely noticed. My entire world had narrowed to one question. Maya, is Ava? I couldn't finish the sentence. She nodded. Yes. My knees nearly gave out. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after our divorce. I stared at her. You never told me. I tried. Those 3 words hit me like a punch. I called. You changed your number. I sent letters. They came back unopened. I even came to your office. Your assistant told me you never wanted to see me again. I felt sick. I never knew. I swear to you, I never knew. Marcus looked at me, confused. Daniel, I handled your legal correspondence after the divorce. I never saw any letters. I turned back to Maya. Who told you my office rejected you? She hesitated, then looked toward Rebecca. The entire church followed her gaze. Rebecca's confidence disappeared. She forced a laugh. This is absurd. Maya slowly reached into her purse. I hoped I'd never need this. She pulled out an old envelope. The edges were worn. The paper had yellowed with age. She handed it to me. It's the last letter I tried to send. On the front, in thick black marker, were 4 words. Return to sender. Below that, someone had written another message. He doesn't want you. Move on. My hands began to shake. I never wrote this. I know, Maya answered quietly. I realized that years later. Rebecca suddenly stepped forward. This proves nothing. Anyone could have written that. Marcus gently took the envelope from my hands. He studied the handwriting, then his expression changed. Daniel, what? I've seen this handwriting before. Rebecca's eyes widened. Marcus slowly looked up. It matches the notes Rebecca leaves for your executive assistant. The color drained from Rebecca's face. She quickly grabbed my arm. Don't listen to him. He's guessing. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone. He opened a photograph, last month's board meeting. Rebecca had written reminders on a legal pad. He placed the image beside the old envelope. The handwriting was almost identical. The church fell silent again. I slowly turned toward Rebecca. She couldn't look me in the eyes. A memory suddenly crashed into my mind. Years ago, just after my divorce, Rebecca had started working as a consultant for one of my companies. Back then, she always seemed to know things about Maya, things I had never told anyone. I had dismissed it as coincidence. Now, it didn't feel like coincidence anymore. I looked at Rebecca. My voice was barely above a whisper. Tell me, what did you do? She didn't answer. Instead, she took one slow step backward, and for the first time since I'd met her, Rebecca looked like someone who knew the truth had finally caught up with her. The woman who stole 12 years. Rebecca's silence lasted only a few seconds. Then she laughed. It wasn't the warm, confident laugh I had heard so many times before. It sounded forced, almost desperate. So this is what we're doing? She asked. We're going to believe an old envelope over me? Marcus didn't respond. He calmly placed the envelope back into my hands. I'm not saying this proves everything, he said. I'm saying it proves we need answers. Rebecca's eyes flashed with anger. Daniel, we've built a life together. Are you really going to throw it away because your ex-wife appears out of nowhere with a dramatic story? Before I could answer, Maya spoke. I didn't come here for you. I came because my daughter deserves the truth. Ava slowly walked toward me. She looked so small standing in the middle of that church. So, she asked softly, are you mad at me? The question broke something inside me. I knelt until we were eye level. No, my voice cracked. I'm mad at myself. She tilted her head. But Mummy said none of this was your fault. I looked at Maya. Why would you tell her that? Maya smiled sadly. Because I refused to let my daughter grow up hating a man she never really knew. Tears filled my eyes. For 12 years, this little girl had believed in me, while I didn't even know she existed. I stood and turned back to Rebecca. I asked you a question. What did you do? Rebecca folded her arms. I protected what we had. We didn't even know each other when Maya says she was trying to contact me. No, Maya replied, but someone did. She reached into her purse again. This wasn't the only thing I kept. She placed several documents on a nearby table. Phone bills, returned letters, emails she had printed years earlier. I kept everything because one day I thought Ava might ask me why her father never came. Marcus picked up one of the papers. His eyebrows lifted. Daniel, these emails were never sent. What? They were saved as drafts. Maya nodded. I wrote them from the public library because I couldn't afford internet at home. They disappeared after I pressed send. Marcus frowned. That's impossible, unless... He stopped talking. What? I asked. Unless someone had access to your business email. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Very few people had that access. My executive assistant, my IT manager, and Rebecca. Years ago, before we started dating, she had overseen several internal systems during a company restructuring. She'd had administrator privileges. Privileges she'd insisted on keeping for emergencies. I slowly looked at her. She looked away. That was all the answer I needed. No, I whispered. You intercepted everything. Rebecca finally snapped. I loved you. The words echoed through the church. I watched you destroy yourself after Maya left. I watched you work until midnight every day. I watched you push everyone away. I was the only one who stayed. She pointed toward Maya. She left you. Maya shook her head. I left because our marriage was falling apart. I never stopped loving him. Rebecca laughed bitterly. Exactly. You never stopped. So I made sure you never had another chance. The room gasped. I felt as though all the air had left my lungs. You admitted it. Rebecca's shoulders slumped. I only wanted you to move on. You already had. I just made it permanent. My hands trembled. 12 years. My daughter lost her father for 12 years. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. I never thought there was a child. If I'd known, you would have done what? I interrupted. Destroyed that too? She couldn't answer. Ava quietly reached for Maya's hand. Then she looked up at me. Does this mean you really wanted me? I couldn't hold back anymore. I walked to her, dropped to one knee, and gently took both of her little hands in mine. I missed your first birthday, your first day of school, every Christmas, every bedtime story, every scraped knee. My biggest regret is that I didn't even know I was missing them. Ava's eyes overflowed with tears. I used to draw pictures of us. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her small purse. I always hoped I'd get to give you one. With shaking hands I opened it. It showed a little girl standing between a man and a woman beneath a bright yellow sun. Above the 3 stick figures were 4 words written in careful handwriting. My family someday. I couldn't speak. I simply pulled my daughter into my arms. This time, she hugged me back without hesitation, and the entire church watched as 12 stolen years finally began to find their way home.
For what felt like an eternity, no one spoke. The church that had been decorated for a wedding had become the place where 12 years of lies finally came to an end. Rebecca wiped tears from her face. I know none of this can be undone, she said quietly. But I did love you, Daniel. I looked at her with sadness, more than anger. I don't doubt that you loved me. But love doesn't isolate people. It doesn't steal letters. It doesn't erase a father from his child's life. It doesn't make someone else's pain the price of your happiness. She lowered her head. For the first time since I'd known her, she had no excuse left. The pastor quietly stepped forward. Daniel, would you like to continue with the ceremony? I looked around the church, at the flowers, at the guests, at the empty promises waiting at the altar. Then I slowly removed my wedding ring from the ceremony tray, before it had ever been placed on my finger. I'm sorry, but this wedding is over. No one applauded. No one celebrated. It wasn't that kind of moment. It was simply the truth. Rebecca nodded through her tears, without another word. She picked up the train of her dress and walked down the aisle alone. The same aisle she had dreamed would change her life. This time, it marked the end of the life she had tried to build on deception. The weeks that followed were harder than I expected. The internet quickly learned the truth. Many people who had judged Maya publicly apologized. Others criticized me for not discovering the truth sooner. I accepted that. Some mistakes deserve humility, not excuses. Rebecca resigned from every position she held in my company. The board launched an independent investigation into the misuse of company systems. Marcus handled everything professionally. I never tried to punish Rebecca beyond letting the truth speak for itself. Justice didn't require revenge. It required accountability. The hardest part wasn't rebuilding my reputation. It was learning how to become a father to a 12-year-old girl. The first Saturday we spent together, I asked Ava what she wanted to do. She smiled. I want pancakes. Pancakes? She nodded. Mom says dads are supposed to burn the first batch. I laughed for what felt like the first time in years. Then I'd better not disappoint you. I burned every single pancake. Ava laughed so hard she nearly fell off her chair. Even Maya couldn't stop laughing. Just 2 words, but to me, they meant more than every business award I'd ever received. One evening, Ava asked me a question I'd been afraid of hearing. Dad, if I hadn't interrupted your wedding, would you ever have found us? I was honest. I don't know. She looked down. I'm glad I was brave then. I squeezed her hand. So am I. You changed my life. She smiled. I think we changed each other's. A few months later, Maya and I sat together on the back porch while Ava chased fireflies across the yard. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, Maya broke the silence. We can't get those 12 years back. I nodded. No, but we don't have to waste the years we still have. She smiled softly. I'd like that. There was no dramatic declaration, no rushed romance. Some relationships need time to heal before they can grow again. For now, we were partners in raising an incredible little girl. And that was enough. Every now and then, I still think about the day my wedding was interrupted. Most people remember it as the day a little girl stopped a marriage. They're wrong. It was the day a daughter found her father. The day a mother finally laid down a burden she'd carried alone for 12 years. And the day I learned that the greatest success in life isn't measured by money, titles, or power. It's measured by the people who are waiting for you to come home. If there's one lesson I hope you take from my story, it's this. Truth may be delayed by fear, pride, or deception, but it has a way of finding the light. And when it does, it gives us a chance to become the people we were always meant to be. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Daniel's place? Could you ever forgive someone who stole 12 years from your family? And if you enjoy powerful stories about family, betrayal, second chances, and the unexpected moments that change lives forever, don't forget to subscribe to Blind Spot. You never know which story might change the way you see the world.